Okay, we will bring this meeting to order. Please, March 9th, regular meeting. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome everyone. Next item on our agenda is roll call.
Mr. Hinckley.
Here.
Ms. McGuire.
Here.
Mr. Gajewski.
Here.
Mr. Binkowski.
Here.
Ms. Krasko here. Mr. Weed.
Here.
Mr. Byer.
Here. Okay. No empty chairs. I guess 2 weeks ago you had 2 empty chairs, I think, so according to minutes, so including mine. Agenda additions. Is there anyone that? Yes.
There was one item of a promotional funding request from the Canoe Marathon Committee that we received today, and their deadline for getting the ad copy back is Friday. And that's on the board table.
Okay.
Bit of an oversight on their part, I was told.
Yeah. All right. Is everybody okay with adding that? Mm-hmm. All right, then let's make it number 2 under other, if there's no objection. Okay. All right, anything else regarding the agenda? Okay, the next item is a public hearing which has been advertised, I think, rather thoroughly for a public hearing. The township is looking at making an application to the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund for possible purchase of the land that's immediately north of the Oscoda Beach Park. And we have advertised in the paper on the front page. I think it's the 3rd paragraph. A public hearing has been scheduled on the matter and will take place during the next board meeting on Monday, March 9, which is today, beginning at 7. And then there's also been a paid announcement in the Oscoda Press. Charter Township of Oscoda Board of Trustees will hold a public hearing on March 9, 2015 at 7 p.m. On Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund 2015 grant application. The grant assistance is intended to fund acquisition of Lake Huron waterfront, approximately 300 feet on Lake Huron, immediately north of the Oscoda Beach Park for public recreational purposes. The public hearing to consider the grant proposal will be a business item on the Board of Trustees meeting agenda, which it is. All interested parties are encouraged to attend the hearing. So, I believe we need a motion to start the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
Support moved by Mr. Weed with support from Ms. McGuire that we do start the public hearing regarding what I just read. Roll call, please.
Mr. Weed.
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley.
Yes.
Ms. Krasko, yes. Mr. Binkowski.
Yes.
Mr. Gajewski.
Yes.
Ms. McGuire.
Yes.
Mr. Byer.
Yes. Okay, the public hearing, we have a goodly sized gathering here tonight. Are any of you here for a comment on that purpose? Sure. You want to step up here and give us your name?
My name's James Burrell. I own the property right next door to the property you're interested in. My question is if you end up putting this park in here, now are they gonna end up throwing a fence down that line next to my property line to keep people out of my yard? And then down the road, now is there gonna be an easement or a road coming through my property eventually down the road after this gets purchased? I'm kinda curious, cause I don't want I've already got riffraff down there.
Yeah.
Had problems down there already, because I've had looters in the field, in the woods next door, that I've run out of there 5 times this summer. And they had people camping there, and I'm just wondering what's going on next. I, kinda want an idea what's gonna happen down the road if this does pass.
Okay.
Could
Because I don't
ask
wanna
you
come to my cabin and have somebody on my patio drinking a beer or something.
Can I ask
Sure.
you to spell your last name?
Burrell.
Thank you.
My address is 220. I'm right on the water, right next to it.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
220 what?
Bank Street.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, anyone can respond, but I think, there's a lot of steps before
Yeah,
this
yeah.
happens.
Well, I'm just curious how
Yeah.
it works.
I understand. I would think the situation would be a little better for you in that right now it's that woodsy area is kind of owned by absentee landowners.
Right,
And you
right.
would not have that. You'd have, we don't plan to clear cut that or anything
Okay.
like that. If there's a fence that's an issue that you would like or not like, you need to talk to us. Maybe we can work.
Well,
with
like
you.
I say, if it goes through, I would like probably have a fence to keep people out of my yard, because I'm 3 foot off the property line, is where my
Yeah.
line is. Because I mowed that lot since 75.
Yeah,
So I know the lot well, but I was just wondering if that could be something that works, because, and then I have no access to my backyard either, because I enclose my carport with a screened-in carport now. I would need to have an access to get to my backyard, to get in and out of my backyard too.
Mhm.
That's where I'm at too, because I park my tractors, I got sheds back there and stuff, so.
Yeah.
I didn't know how this works, I just figured I'd better get up here and
Sure.
put my word in, so.
Mhm. Well, if it all falls into place, we don't want to be a bad neighbor to you,
Right, right.
And my gut feeling is that you would find a lot more supervision of that property than
Okay.
you are seeing now.
Yeah.
I know, I've gone down there and parked, in the area that we own and see kids going into the woods.
Yeah, yeah.
constantly in the
Yeah,
summertime.
because I've been
Yeah.
through it, I mean,
Yeah.
I had people wake me up at 2 o'clock in the morning, they're in the woods partying, I'd run them out with flashlights, cussing and screaming, it's like,
Yeah,
really? So,
yeah.
You said that we're not gonna clear cut it, but are we gonna clear out the underbrush?
Yeah, I think there's a big difference in that, cleaning it up a little bit, other than clear cutting it. My concept of clear cutting is kind of making it look like the rest of,
Right.
where the skateboard park is and the basketball courts,
okay,
a couple of trees,
right,
I don't think we have any plans like that, but as far as cleaning it up and making it look better, probably.
okay.
And that would make it less of a hiding place.
Now I want to ask a question now, down the road, since I'm at the end of Bank Street,
Yep.
down the line,
Mhm.
is there any chance that there gonna be a drive-through or a road going through there, down the road?
You mean from the present park
Yeah.
down tying?
Yeah,
it?
going across?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's a big concern.
I mean-
We've been there for 40 years, so this is what I want to know, I just bought it for my family, and I just bought it out of my mom's estate, so I want to make sure I'm still going to be able to have it.
That would actually be more of an issue under the jurisdiction of the road commission, but given past practice, I would say it's very unlikely. There'd be really no reason to do that at this point.
Okay. I plan on being there a long time, so, So
There's
that's,
probably, we have this boardwalk that goes the full length
Yeah.
of what we now own, and we may extend that.
Right, okay.
Northward.
all right.
I don't know how deep, but, but
All right, well, that's pretty much my question. I was kind of curious, how it was going to work and stuff.
I think you'll find it's a better deal than you have now.
Right,
It's a better deal than if you had somebody buying it and put up.
oh, I
Two-story
agree. I mean, I got
condos.
12 grandkids. I agree on that part.
Yeah.
I just worry about the riffraff coming in and,
Yeah.
bothering me and causing more problems I've already had down there, is my concern,
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna increase that.
Okay. All right, well, that's all I got. Oh.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? This is regarding only the possible property acquisitions.
My name is Natalie Ridgewell. I live at 6373 Mankato Street. I guess I'm not very enthusiastic about the purchase of this property. There's a couple of things that come to play here. For instance, the people that own the property now are paying over $6,000 in taxes. Paying meaning loosely because they just paid up the back taxes as of February. So they still owe 2014 winter and summer taxes. That is such a huge chunk of money that is going to be spent on that property, even with the grant being 75% of it, that I could think of so many other things that you guys could do with that money. You guys have acquired a couple pieces of property in the past couple of years. Van Etten Campground, it could use some updating. The Ratcliffe Park, you guys are putting that on hold to be able to acquire to this property. I would suggest you maintain the properties that you have right now, other than acquiring more and not being able to maintain those. My other question is the beach cut off right now as it stands with this property owner? Or is that not accessible right now? Do we know?
Well, what's the legal status? If somebody wanted to walk north from the pier, people walk the beach all the
I
time.
think under state law, they can walk on the water's edge, and I'm not sure the amount of public easement there is, but the rest of the property is private, and technically it would be trespassing, although I don't believe it's posted.
Right.
By
okay.
law, the legal area for public use is up to the ordinary high water mark.
Right, okay. So as it stands right now, it's still somewhat usable by pedestrians, and like he said, they're an out-of-town owner, so they can't police that property. Do we really need another property right now? That's my question.
Okay. Well, any other board member have a comment or an opinion?
Yeah, I'd like to say that I completely agree with everything that you said. And normally I would not be in favor of an acquisition like this, but because the fireworks venue is so important to so many people here, and it's been recommended that it has to be moved to the Oscoda Pier, the zone that we need for that now encroaches on that property. So if we're going to continue to have the fireworks on Huron, then we need that property to be able to keep having our fireworks. Otherwise, the property owner can just say no, and now we have no place on Lake Huron to shoot off fireworks.
Have we asked the property owner?
Oh, yeah.
And they said no?
And he's been in favor, but there's always a chance he could say no.
And if he sells the property, who's to say that the next owner is going to say yeah? Or what they're going to put there?
Is that in the works, do you know? If there was anybody interested in purchasing that property?
Well, he's lowered his price quite a bit, so there more interest may pop up. But I'm always, I don't know, I'm not the great fortune teller, but I look up at Greenbush and I see a solid wall of condos where you drive by in 23, except for where the old Greenbush Tavern used to be. You can't even see the horizon anymore. And I would think that whoever could afford that chunk of property, again, 300 feet frontage and about 300 feet deep, roughly, would have to be somebody with some pretty big business plans. So I don't think anybody's going to buy that and plop a cottage down there a little bit. Could be, I'm probably wrong, I don't know, but that's a pretty pricey deal. So. And I know you would not be a happy camper with
No.
condos. You said your house is really
Yeah,
close to
right
the
next
property.
door, yeah.
So. Anyway.
I think it's also worth maybe noting that you have some not unique, but arguably compelling factors coming together right now. The Oscoda Beach Park is a significant asset for the community. and there's an opportunity to expand that because it's available. The price has been modified to the benefit of a potential buyer, and the grant program is advising that there's ample funds available to pursue. So part of the question, I guess, that has to be answered is this an opportunity in time we should be looking at? Certainly, there's always other competing priorities, but right now, with that set of circumstances, does it make sense? And obviously, that's a value judgment. But
The Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund is written into the Michigan Constitution. It's not just a law, it's in the Constitution. And it gets its money not from taxpayers, it gets its money from various companies that exploit natural resources in Michigan. Natural gas, oil, coal, whatever. And they have to pay kind of like a royalty, and they pay that into this kitty. Again, this is in the Michigan Constitution. And it has a cap of $500 million. I attended a Oscoda Township's meeting here in the last month, and our representative, Peter Patalia, usually is there and makes a presentation of what's going on. And he was literally pleading with people, make an application, you know. They're right at the cap, 500 million. They need to start passing this out. You guys need to, if you've got any projects, it has to be geared to recreation, okay? And but he, you know, and I would think that if we choose to go ahead with that, we're gonna, you know, probably touch base with Mr. Patalia and say, okay, we're taking your advice, and so that's where the money's come from. It is not, you know, in the past, we availed ourselves of that same grant program for the pier, and we got almost $500,000 for that. And people thought, well, you just got that grant, but it comes from the general fund in Lansing anyway. No, it does not. It comes from people that punch holes in the ground and find good mineral wealth, you know. So if you object to getting a little money from Shell Oil or something like that, then we don't agree. So, but I want you to understand what this grant program is and where they get their money, and they're anxious to, you know, they've been dealing it out all along, but right now there's so much going on in Michigan as far as mineral activity, particularly in the lower peninsula with natural gas and petroleum, that they're got some bucks, and they would like to, you know, use it. So, anyone else have a comment? Anybody else in the audience? Yes.
Hey, can I get up and speak? I turn a piece of paper in for them.
Sure.
My name is Coletta Marvin, and I live at 10045 8th Street on the base. And I spoke a few weeks ago, for those of you that were not here, talking about the horrible flooding we're having that needs to be dealt with. Everybody, including myself on my street, have to drive around to out of our way to get out of the area. But the point I wanted to make has to do with a little bit with what Natalie was saying. We need so much done around here that has to be things have to be taken care of. So even though I understand what you're all saying about buying the beachfront property, why can't we take care of things that need to be taken care of first, like the flooding and well, whatever, there's other things like that, the campground and whatever that needs to be fixed first, and then continue from there to improve in other areas. But I don't know, it's just that there seems to be so much that needs to be done first before we do other things, and I'd just like to see things taken care of that are in need of fixing. And one more thing, I'd like to see everybody try to work on bringing more jobs into the area. There's so few jobs in the area that a lot of people have to leave the area to get jobs. I'd like to see more jobs brought in so that people can stay here, people can move here, and will love staying here because they have nice jobs to go to every day.
Okay, thank you. One of our recent speakers talked about we should fix up the Van Etten Lake Campground. We should point out that we don't own that, right? We're just,
We're leasing the property.
yeah. The state of Michigan owns that, you know, and they've asked us if we want to run it. That's the Van Etten Lake Campground. It's a little bit up F-41 from where Oscoda, what some of you know of as the Air Force Beach, Warrior Pavilion. It's further on the road. That we don't own that. So.
But you do charge the $5 for the dock? That's
For
your
the boat
guys'
launch?
The boat launch?
Yeah, and we collect camping fees, and, you know.
But see, if you had just left it for the state of Michigan, then we would be able to use our recreation pass on our license plates. With you guys having control of that property, that's completely gone now.
I believe they were gonna shut
They were.
the park down
They were
if
gonna
we
shut it
didn't
down.
take it over.
We didn't take it, they were gonna close it.
Yep.
So
So
couldn't
you
use
didn't
it
take it
anyhow.
over, but you don't own it, but
we
you're
just
taking care
run
of
it,
it.
Just run it.
just managers.
But it's a moneymaker for us, Natalie, and I heard you talk about the $6,000 that the owners own, and that's good money that the township could use.
Well, we haven't quite established whether it's a moneymaker yet. Last year was
No,
our
but I
first
mean,
year.
potentially, it could
Yeah.
be, yeah. But I mean, it's,
You got control of the whole lake now, every public access.
No, I
Anybody
think
wants
that-
to go there,
mhm.
they gotta go through you.
Isn't there another, on the other side of the lake?
Brewster Park has.
Brewster Park has
It's
one.
private, yeah.
Yeah.
Where is that?
On the other side of the lake, there's a private boat launch that's up.
I just wasn't even aware of that one, I don't even know where it's at.
Well, anybody else wish to speak in the public hearing regarding the process of seeking a loan for possible purchase of that property? Any board member have a comment?
Should mention that the storm sewers are on our agenda tonight. We are dealing with
Yeah.
them.
What's the total purchase price of that property?
Mom?
It's $562,500 is the budget, of which 26% would be the township's responsibility.
Okay, 'cause I think I read in the paper, my math isn't too good anymore, but.
Our part's about 140,000,
Right.
just over.
And that's what it said in there, but okay.
Do you already have that budgeted?
We do not. It would actually be something, if we were to acquire it, it would be something we'd be budgeting for next year.
And the application for this grant isn't gonna, like, bam, you got it. No, that takes time too, so we have time to budget for that, so. Yep.
One more thing I was thinking about.
They're having a fit. You have to stand up there.
Sorry. One more thing I was thinking about was, I think 2003, you guys had a study done on that property, and there was a couple of endangered species in there. Is that different now, or do you know how you're gonna deal with that, with the new property that you're gonna take on, if you're gonna make sure that those endangered species stay that way, or, because I know there was
We
a
don't
couple.
want them to stay endangered. We want to help them.
Right.
So- But if we're not going to do anything to the property, the only thing that might benefit, because people can now come and bird watch or whatever they wanted to do in there, but we're not going to chase anything out or cut anything out or take anything.
We're not.
I thought you said we were clear.
Oh, we're not clearing the underbrush?
Well, we're not taking out endangered things. If there's junk stuff in there, that might be more beneficial to anything that wants to.
Well, I would make sure that that's where it was. I believe the endangered species we ran into was up at 3 Mile Park when we were doing the extension of that bike path. That seems like the timeline. I don't recall us looking at that property.
Well, there was an analysis done, whether there was endangered species involved or not here, I don't recall. There definitely was a Lake Huron-Tansy on the parcel that
At
you're
3
thinking
Mile,
about,
yeah.
yes. But one of the things we're going to be talking about this evening is having another one of those analysis done, an updated version of that. So we'll have current information, and then development plans would take that into account.
Sometimes people get confused. We're talking about what local people often refer to as 3 Mile Park. And there are really 2 parks there. What most people refer to as 3 Mile Park, where there's 2 separate parking lots and restrooms and so forth, that belongs to the state of Michigan, MDOT. But if you go a little bit north of that, it's adjacent, it abuts. But if you go a little bit north of what the state owns, that is an Oscoda Township Park. So we have 5 parks in Oscoda Township. And what we're talking about here tonight would not be a new one, number 6. It would be just a reconfiguration of one that we have. So there are 2 parks up there. One at the north end going up to the sign saying welcome to Oscoda. There's also a paved walkway there that people take advantage of. That belongs to you, Oscoda Township. And then south of that belongs to Michigan Department of Transportation. All right, anything else? Okay, I need, last chance, need a motion to end the public hearing.
So support.
Okay, Mr. Gajewski and Mr. Binkowski. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gajewski?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes?
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Ms. Carrasco, yes. Mr. Binkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes. Okay, next item is public comment. I think I saw some people filling out some cards for that.
We have one card from a Jerry Dotterman. Don't know if he wants to speak now or wait till the second period.
I'll wait till the second
Okay.
period.
Okay,
Okay, that's it?
that's it.
All right. Okay, next, the item on our agenda is the consent agenda. And the approval of the minutes of the last regular meeting and a special board meeting the 19th. Is there anything, anybody has a comment regarding the minutes or accuracy thereof? Hearing none. The second part, there are 2 parts to tonight's consent agenda, is the payment of bills since our last meeting to the tune of $105,341.55. Is there anybody that has a question about that? I think I've said this before, but the bills are going over in fine detail the morning of our meeting by the treasurer, the clerk, and the superintendent. So there is quite a bit of analysis of what we're paying out. Any board member have anything there? Okay, then I need a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, moved by Ms. Carrasco with support by Mr. Weed, that we do accept the consent, 2-part consent agenda as presented. Roll call, please.
Mr. Binkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes?
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Gajewski?
Yes.
Ms. Carrasco, yes. Mr. Byer?
Yes. Okay, next item is the superintendent's report segment. And no informational items tonight, but action items regarding, first of all, the work session that we had last week. These are follow-up items. And Bob, go ahead.
Sure. I've provided a number of items that will require action potentially, and then some that do not, and my intent is not to get into detail about the ones that do not, but I am also seeking confirmation from the board that my understanding of the discussion is correct, and essentially want to make sure we're all on the same page, even though action's not required at this point, because that understanding would serve as the basis for action moving forward, potentially. So having said that, the first follow-up item from the work session is potential scheduling of a second session. Although we talked about a lot of things and made progress on a number of fronts, we didn't get through the entire agenda. We next have to deal with a financial overview and then review of the existing goals and objectives.
Okay. And you're suggesting March 16th and 17th, or some other mutually acceptable date, is that correct?
And it sounds like maybe some other mutually acceptable date, because I've been advised by at least one board member at this point that those dates are not a very good fit.
Both of them.
Right.
Anybody else have a comment about those two dates?
Got a commitment on the 17th.
Okay.
I'll be out of town until the 26th.
So that covers both dates. Well, how deep into March do we need to go?
Well, it's probably important that everybody have the opportunity to participate, because we're going to get into the real nuts and bolts of the process. So I would suggest if we have to delay to get everybody's schedules in sync, that's a worthwhile thing.
Want to set a date tonight, as long as we're jumping that far ahead, or should we?
Sure. And then if it doesn't work, we can revisit it at the next meeting, but at least attempt to get it on the calendar.
Okay. Well,
I have available March, after the 26th, I have available March 27th, and then April 1st through the 3rd.
I'll be gone from the 19th to the 27th.
well, the last 2 weekdays of March are the 30th and the 31st. Are those bad?
Yeah, I've got a commitment then.
Pardon me?
I have a commitment during those days.
Both days? Okay. Well, looks like we're into April. April Fool's Day?
Sounds
Sounds
good.
perfect.
April 1st?
The first is a Wednesday.
Perfect.
Perfect? Okay. I was joking, but you guys sound like you're actually gonna come up with something that fits the day.
Mhm.
Wednesday, April 1 at 5 o'clock, right?
Okay.
Okay,
I'll make a motion.
all right.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Dwyer, with support from Mr. Weed, that we pick April 1st, 5 o'clock, Wednesday. Roll call?
Ms. Krasko, yes. Mr. Pankowski?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes?
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes. Okay, next item, again, bouncing off the work session issues, is the Warrior Pavilion deck construction.
Yes, at the work session, a suggestion was offered that we consider changing our mode of construction for the deck at Warrior Pavilion. Specifically, we talked about a concrete slab/patio instead of the wooden deck that we'd originally envisioned. We've purchased materials for the wooden deck, but I'm advised by our DPW folks, as surmised at the work session, that those materials could be used in other projects in the future. We'd want to store them, obviously. But to move forward with this concept would require preparation of specifications. Presumably, we'd want to have a contractor do the work, and distribution of an RFP. Given the time of year, we'd want to get moving on that process right away. So I'm seeking confirmation that that is in fact the direction that the board would like to proceed. And if so, any input the board might have as to the specific size of the structure or surface we were contemplating.
Anybody, thoughts?
I kinda like the size it was, if we could just do the cement out to that way you can set a few tables out there or put a few benches or something that, with no railing, so it's not obstructing the view. It'll be easier to clean off and hose down.
Anyone else?
I kind of think the cement is going to, this is just my opinion, detract from the uniqueness of the building. I think a wooden deck goes with the whole outside, inside of the building, so I'd really like to see the wooden deck.
Wooden deck with railings? Or
With railings, yeah.
I don't know, Rick, you might know, whether we make it out of cement or wood or plastic. Do you have to have railings on a deck?
Goes by the height, commercial, you know, there's gonna be liability, it's gonna depend on our insurance carrier.
Mhm.
But no, if it's under 30 inches off the ground, you don't have to worry about railing.
Okay. Well, I kind of agree with Chris, you know, the whole building, big open ceilings, cathedral ceilings inside, kind of native wood, outside also, fireplace, brick fireplace, all of that. I'm kind of a wood guy, and people will say, you know, will it last? But the stuff we're replacing, it's gone now, I believe, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. That was built, somebody brought that to our attention during the work session. It probably put in the mid-80s, 85-ish, you know. And it's lasted 30 years. And my thinking is that wood is probably a little superior to what it was in 1985. So if we get 30 or 40 years out of it, I'm fine with that. So I don't think that, you know, the fragileness of it and it'll fall apart in no time or anything like that is a big issue. I do like the railings. I'm a little concerned about liability. I understand that earth berm would be worked up to the top of it, but people still can tumble off that and roll down the hill, and rather than an immediate drop off.
Have you been out there and looked at it, John?
I was there today.
There will be hardly any. The grass will go right to the edge of the concrete.
In the front?
Yes.
Yeah. Well.
And it would open
Yeah.
it up for larger parties, outdoor.
I think concrete's the best long-term option, especially when it comes to maintenance for cleaning it, snow removal, especially the cleaning part. Trying to get leaves off a wooden deck is
Right.
quite a chore.
Didn't we
And
look
then,
at?
there won't
No,
be
go
any
ahead.
slipping either from moss from the wood being wet.
Bob, we asked for DPW's input. What was,
I did not, our department head was on vacation, but the other employee I spoke with, who would be the one in charge of essentially leading the charge to build it, thought the maintenance would benefit from concrete. Some question was raised about what the cost might be, but in terms
Because
of,
didn't we look at
That's what
concrete
I
on
thought.
that and it
Didn't we
was
look at it
quite
once?
expensive?
we did bid it at one point with, I think, textured concrete, and the bids, as I recall, was in the high 20s. But
but it was doing retaining walls and railing
Right.
and,
as opposed
Instead
Pretty
of just bringing it
extensive.
up.
yeah.
Right.
And, I mean, if we were after, and this is kind of towards Rick, he knows more about it, couldn't we dye the concrete? Couldn't we do a
Yeah.
stain color to the concrete and maybe bring it into a brownish color?
Yeah.
Something to go with the pavilion.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's gonna be dug up ever and we have to worry about matching colors. I mean, it's not like a sidewalk that you do it to.
Like Jim said, it was built
Yeah.
85 or something. The concrete
So
on the
the
back's
concrete's
still
going-
in perfect shape.
Yeah.
I can see the concrete in the back. It's kind of a loading dock area. You know, there's no dock per se, but I mean, people bringing in music equipment or food or whatever, you pretty much have to have a cement slab in the back. I have no problem with that.
What
but-
I'm saying is it's still there and the deck's gone.
Yeah. Well, we tore the deck down.
Oh, it was bad. That's why we
It was
took it out.
So, anyway, I just think that the ambiance of the whole thing and the fact that the old one was built with materials that probably are less durable than what we can have today. And we've already purchased the, what, to the tune of $8,000
Yeah, plus, yes.
plus.
But they said they could use that on the boardwalks and other things that we'd have
Yeah, I'm
in our
sure
other
they
5
could,
parks.
you know, I'm sure they could pick away at it and
Yes.
use it from here and there, boardwalk, repair planks, but whether they'll use 100% of it or 50% of it.
They
I don't
will,
know.
they'll use it.
So, anyway, one opinion. So you want to go ahead with getting bids on concrete, is that?
I'll move we go ahead with getting bids.
Support.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Minkowski with support from Mr. Weed.
Is that bid gonna include the dyed concrete, Rick? Is that your motion, or is that part of the bid?
Or look
Do
into
you need
it.
to have that in the RFP?
Sure.
We could do it as an alternate, maybe.
Okay.
Okay.
So it is more,
A little bit.
a little bit more, depending on rate.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes?
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Ms. Carrasco, no. Mr. Pinkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Fire?
No. Motion has passed. Okay. Next, we go to another item we talked about last week, what to do with the current opening for code enforcement officer.
Yes, there was concern expressed at the work session relative to turnover and lack of continuity with the position in its current part-time configuration. There was discussion about incorporating the function more directly into the police department. We talked about full-time, part-time, and auxiliary officers. They obviously all have fairly dramatically different economic consequences. And a definite direction wasn't established, at least from my perspective, so additional evaluation will be necessary. The question that emerged, at least in my mind after the fact, was did that discussion lead to the conclusion we should not fill the position now? We had advertised. We have some candidates potentially to interview at this point, but certainly don't want to move ahead if we're going to consider reconfiguring the position in a significant way based on that evaluation. So basically, do we defer filling, or do we go ahead and fill it and then do an evaluation for implementation potentially at some point in the future?
I say we defer filling.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay. Motion to defer.
So moved.
Support?
Okay. Motion by Ms. McGuire with support from, I believe, Mr. Minkowski, that we just defer, put this on hold, back burner, whatever cliche you want to use. And roll call, please.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Pinkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Carrasco, yes. Mr. Fire?
Yes. Motion passed. Next, we go to Township Board meeting time.
We had talked about the potential for moving our township board meeting time up earlier in the evening, based in part on the premise that televising of our meetings gives much more widespread public access than was available prior to the televised efforts. So the benefits of meeting later in the evening are arguably diminished. At least my perspective was we had some differing viewpoints, and the discussion seemed to lead to the conclusion that solicitation of public input might be helpful in establishing a direction. So I'm looking to confirm that assumption, that we should be proactively seeking public opinion as to the merit of moving the meetings up to sometime between 5 and 6 p.m., which would be at the board's discretion. We talked about a couple of different time frames there. We initially started at 5 p.m., but there were some concerns with that. So that's a question, I guess, too.
And how would you recommend that we solicit public opinion?
We could put something on the sign and ask people to communicate with us. We could put something on the website, certainly broadcasting of these meetings with the question being posed, if that's the direction the board chooses to go, may prompt some input as well, if, again, we ask for it specifically.
We have public here tonight, Jim, you could ask some if it matters.
Show of hands.
And
Yeah, we have
doesn't
7
make a difference,
guests
5,
tonight.
6, or 7.
Understand, we start at 7, as you know. And we're talking about possibly starting at 5, 5:30, 6 instead of 7.
I think 6 o'clock would be good. Give great people a chance to eat dinner first.
Yeah,
You know, from work, take care of the kids.
it's too early.
Well, okay.
We got
I mean,
input.
we got
There you go.
very varying opinions here. Okay. I'm just concerned that, you know, people like yourselves that are coming out, but you're here at 7 o'clock for a 7 o'clock meeting. I know the TV and we're tried to be as transparent as we can with all kinds of computer-generated coverage and as well as television. But still, that doesn't account for people that are riled up about something like 2 weeks ago when I wasn't here, but I guess there were 12 to 14 people here that wanted to talk about the drainage situation on the base and stuff. I'm just concerned, can you be here at 6 or 5:30 or whatever we choose?
Be here at 6. That's me.
Because that's a little different than just watching the program on TV and stuff.
Is there paper we can put in the water bills and people could drop them off at the town hall?
Water
So
bills
we
are a
can-
postcard,
Yeah.
so no.
Have them
Newsletter?
vote when they,
Newsletter goes out in June.
We have an election coming up, people will be in the building, they can stop by and
May.
voice their opinion then.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
You could put something on the table out there,
Yep.
And when is that election?
May 5th.
May 5th.
May 5th, election. Get your absentee ballots now.
May 5th.
Some of you are aware that our neighboring township, Oscoda, has a meeting at 5. The Iosco County Commission meets at 9:30 on alternate Wednesdays, 9:30 in the morning. I've heard some grumping about that. People at work virtually cannot go to a county commission meeting. I don't, it's not a groundswell of huge amounts, but I've heard it, and so we have 7 o'clock is the most attendance friendly. I'm thinking, but whatever, it's not a big deal.
So if we solicit input at the elections, then we can get a good data set to have an idea of
It's a good idea.
what works for a
Sure.
large chunk of people.
And this is we've had 7 o'clock meetings since we've been on the board, and that was 2002, so we could wait a couple of months to make this decision, I think. So,
Oh, yeah.
okay. So,
I'm not crazy about the 5 o'clock. Number one, I can't, John and I are the only two in there, so if we're busy with water bills or taxes,
Yeah.
I can't get over here right at 5, so.
right.
And I don't think it's fair to the public, to be honest. I mean, everybody works till 5, and obviously you have different shifts, people, you're not gonna be able to, make everybody happy, but the majority of people work 8 to 5, and we should be available.
Right. Well, let's just see what the public says. Okay? And then we'll talk about it again
Yeah.
in late May or June, something like that. So that's good enough, right? You don't need a motion on that? Okay. Next item, number 5 of 6. Well, there's actually 10 that all bounce off the work session, but the fireworks location.
Yes, based largely on input from the Fish and Wildlife Service, and I provided a copy of the letter that is referenced in my report here. It would appear that having the fireworks show launched off the South Jetty at the river mouth is not advisable. The letter basically confirmed for our fireworks working group what we thought we had been told during a meeting face-to-face with Fish and Wildlife Service personnel. And given that the group concluded that was not an advisable location, the secondary conclusion was if we want to stay on Lake Huron, that the Oscoda Beach Park and the pier there represent the next best alternative. That requires permission from the adjoining property owner. That property owner appears to be positive on that question. We're now in the process of trying to get formal written acknowledgement, which I would bring back before the board. And our fireworks vendor is getting concerned about the time frame for submitting permits, particularly to the Coast Guard. So he has submitted a somewhat generic permit application at this point. I spoke with him last week, told him where I thought we were heading with the whole issue, and he can refine that to nail it down to the pier once we've confirmed property owner acceptance of the idea. So, given all that, I'm seeking endorsement for using the pier for 2015 as our fireworks launch site, subject to concurrence of Oscoda Township, who partners in funding it, acknowledgement of the property owner's approval to establish the required safety zone, and acquiring the necessary permits.
Comment?
The group that raised the $4,000 to help pay for the improvements to the fireworks show, are they going to be donating that money to the fireworks this year?
That's unknown at this point. We had a little bit of discussion at the working group, and I don't want to assume anything, but given that the initial thrust of the collection was to keep the show on the Lake Huron shoreline, the group thought that probably it would be positive, but that's obviously up to the group and the Chamber of Commerce.
Are you going to need to know that soon, though, or that's not really, they don't need that for the license or the permits or stuff like that?
Refresh my memory. Wasn't there some bit of a snafu as far as only part of the money was spent last summer?
Actually, none of it was.
We gave it back to
We gave
them.
it back to
Right.
them.
Okay.
Gave it all
But
back
it still
to 'em.
exists in some piggy bank or bank
Chamber of
account?
Commerce is, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thus your question. I would be able to use that, right?
Right,
Yeah.
just wondered if they were going to contribute that towards the show this year.
Any other comments? So just for the audience's understanding, we have this letter from the United States Department of Interior. This is federal. Fish and Wildlife Service, Lansing office, I assume that's for the whole state. And they're saying pretty strong no to the Oscoda Beach Park, and probably no to the jetty where they were launched
That's the
last
same,
summer.
it's the same, they do not recommend anywhere within our jurisdiction, the location except the
Yeah.
Oscoda Pier.
Yeah.
If they want it on Lake Huron,
Yeah.
yeah.
But then in the last, it strikes me as kind of funny. You can't do this, you can't do that. And then, and I'm all in favor of the plovers. I'm not an anti-endangered species guy, but at the very end, after telling us where we should go and what we can't do, we also discussed helping you look for potential funding to hire a monitor. We have to do this, you know. You look for potential funding to hire a monitor to help protect the nesting piping plovers. Any additional monitoring would make it more likely that early nesting piping plovers were detected and had their nesting sites protected. This would make it more likely that the plovers would have egg hatch earlier in the season and have chicks closer to Independence, small I, not Independence Day, closer to Independence by the time of the fireworks show. Please let us know if this is something that you are still interested in. There seems to me putting the whole idea of protecting the plovers on us.
How is protecting them gonna make them mature earlier? That's what I don't get out of that whole thing, is by having a monitor, they aren't gonna be ready to roll by the 4th because somebody babysat them for
Right.
3 weeks.
Well, maybe they just mean they're gonna lay the eggs sooner if they're not disturbed, therefore the plovers would hatch sooner.
And you grow so fast.
Yeah.
I think that statement, I'm not sure, but I think that statement stemmed from Oscoda's concerns of the fireworks being away from their beach means that they're having a harder time justifying closing that beach.
Yeah.
And so monitors were brought up and the Fish and Wildlife said, well, you know, we'll help you out with that if you need it. Is that,
How are they gonna help us? Are they gonna send some bodies up here, or are they gonna?
No, they're gonna help us look for potential funding.
but they themselves already have people that come up and check on those birds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And-
met some of them
And
last year.
if they find abandoned
yeah.
babies, they will take them and
Mhm.
move them to a safe place.
Yeah.
Okay. We read it slightly different. I'm reading that we'll help you with the funding while you guys protect these birds, and maybe we can help you with some ideas of how you can get the money to do this. So,
Now,
I'll
there's a-
move we allow the Oscoda Beach Pier for the fireworks.
Support.
Okay, motion by Mr. Binkowski with support from Mr. Hinckley that we do go with the Oscoda Pier as a launch site for the 2015 4th of July fireworks. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hinckley,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Gieske,
Yes.
Mr. Binkowski.
Yes.
Ms. Krasko, yes. Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes. Motion carried. Okay, and next, we're still on, reactions to the work session of last week, but the next half, there are 4 items that really don't need action. They're just kind of, going over them again. The first one is the non-motorized pathway route that possibly.
First responders.
First responder.
First responders.
Skip one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm skipped the first responders. There is a final one that needs some action, board action, so first responders.
Okay. We also talked about the first responders operation and the fact that it appears that the county EMS service is going to add 1 ambulance shift to their schedule, which would provide about 10 hours of beneficial coverage per day countywide. But Oscoda would obviously be a beneficiary of that effort. Discussion at the work session appeared to indicate that improvement, if it were to happen, would be responsive to the direction that the board had initially established in approaching the county to seek improvements. The question then becomes, where does that leave us with the Oscoda area first responders, their contract and occupancy in the EMS station in Oscoda? You might recall that the county's looking for direction from the townships as to whether we would like those folks to stay in the building, and presumably inherent in that is the question as to whether we're going to continue to contract with first responders. I noted in my report that we were expecting to have a meeting with the Oscoda Township representatives. We have in fact done that, but we've also received an offer from the first responders, which is on the board table. I distributed it, I think, last Thursday when we got it, offering to demonstrate equipment and talk about the service. And the consensus in the discussion today was that because it appears, at least from Oscoda's perspective and presumably Oscoda's as well, based on the discussion, that there are at least some board members who would like to take advantage of that opportunity, that we should defer consideration of any action until folks have been given the opportunity to do that. So tentatively, we're looking at coordinating a meeting with the first responders and Oscoda Township Friday of this week. Certainly, we don't have to head down that path, but if we're going to entertain those discussions, it would seem deferring would be the prudent thing to do.
And along the lines, I'd like to reiterate what Bob has said about the ambulance, straight ambulance deal, that on Wednesday last, the county commission did vote unanimously that they would have a 5th ambulance and the staff to man it, and it should be in place by May 1, if not possibly sooner than that. Okay, that was unanimous. So even though I expressed some doubt that it would do any good, I was wrong, and so this, they have agreed to add a 5th ambulance. And it would be, the idea was that the ambulance housed near the cemetery in Oscoda Township would be on site a lot more than it is now. But no promises of 100% or anything like that. So, and they were told that this would cost the county approximately, they used the worst case scenario. The guy didn't want to fudge the figures, but he said it could be in the area of $180,000 that would cost, come out of county coffers for this, approximate. So, and they didn't blink an eye, voted unanimously. So.
I don't have a problem deferring till the board members that would like to take a look at it have an opportunity to.
That's fine.
Okay.
The rest of the items do not require action, but I can certainly summarize them if the board would like me to do that.
Go ahead, please do.
Okay. Non-motorized pathway, we talked about the potential route through the cemetery. There appeared to be some differences of opinion. Where we wound up, I think, is let's wait and get the recommendation from Spicer Engineering along with the Oscoda and the committee driving the project, and then take a look at what kind of guidance that provides, and then make a decision if it becomes necessary. State Street Square parking, we had at least a few, if not more, board members who had volunteered to attempt to establish dialogue with the property owner. In terms of non-routine services for our water and sewer contract operator, we had talked about the fact that there was a tentative agreement in the making for resolution of the outstanding invoices for thawing frozen water lines dating back to 2014. That would have the township paying for overtime in the amount of $15,342.75. It appeared there was consensus that that would be an acceptable resolution from the board's perspective. So I am now engaged in discussion with F&V about formalizing the understanding in terms of some kind of a written document acknowledging the agreement. It would appear at this point that they are interested in trying to deal with a contract amendment to address non-routine services moving forward as well. So I will be reporting on that as the discussion unfolds. And then finally, we talked about the storm sewer issues on the former base, and particularly the 8th and Mission scenario. At that time, we had still not received a responding letter from the Air Force to my letter of last January. As of this evening, we have not. They had sent an email which gave us some preliminary insight into the Air Force's position. But I think where we wound up on that issue is we are going to try to take steps to remedy the situation in the short term as quickly as possible, and then try to establish a dialogue with the Air Force to work towards a long-term solution. Whether that may or may not involve partial abandonment would be something that we'd take under consideration moving forward. To that end, our contract operator is, and I was hopeful to have it this evening, but I don't, but they're trying to get a quote from the contractor that did the work for us in 2013. It's likely to be time and materials, so if the board were inclined to authorize a not-to-exceed expenditure amount, that could be considered. Otherwise, we probably will try to attack it with the equipment we have available, which I'm told is got limited chance of success, frankly. We're probably going to have to buy a larger piece of equipment to complement the one we have now, based on input from the contractor who did the work last time around. But we could do that. We could attempt with weather breaking to deal with it independently, and then I can bring back the information at the next meeting, or we can consider some kind of authorization to have dependable sewer cleaning company deal with the issue when they have an opportunity.
I'm good
For
with the
purposes of perspective, last time we spent about $6,000. That's my recollection.
Yeah, a little over that.
Yeah.
And then the current piece of equipment that we got that doesn't seem to be doing the job, that costs a little over $3,000, right? So we're talking, and I'm not complaining about this because this is a problem that needs to be handled, but we have spent just under $10,000 trying to fix this. We're not just sitting back doing nothing.
So they have tried to use the new piece of equipment already?
They did once, but it froze up fairly quickly. So they didn't have a chance to give it a really honest effort, but feedback from the folks who did it last time indicates they had to use both what we have now and a larger chain-driven piece of equipment to get through it.
Was that because of the cold temperatures that when they tried it, or is that like?
Well, it's hard to say. Definitely the cold temperatures hindered their effort. So, I mean, the other approach might be, if we're interested in trying to get it done as quickly as possible, to have them try it. If they're unsuccessful, then bring in the contractor.
I'd say do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get them out there. It's supposed to be
Right.
warm
This
for the
week.
next 10
Right.
days,
Yeah.
so.
Next 10 days are supposed to be
If
warm.
they don't get it, then get a
Get the
hold
other
of
people
the other
in here.
people pronto.
Don't wait for the next board meeting.
Okay.
So I make a motion, if needed, that we go with a contractor not to exceed $8,000.
Support.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Weed, support from Mr. Hinckley. If needed, go ahead with a contractor. I added the if needed, right?
Yes.
After we
No,
tried.
that's good.
Yeah. Not to exceed 8,000. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Ms. Carrasco, yes. Mr. Pinkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes.
And can I add something here? Just because the weather is warm out there, you might want to still let your water run, because we are still having water line freeze up, so the frost is still deep in the ground. So people are turning their water off and we're having the lines freeze up. So probably a good idea to leave the water run.
That's a
We'll go
good
deeper
thought.
before it comes out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're moving on to issues that we didn't talk about at the work session. So,
Which are very few, apparently.
yeah. A sanitary sewer grinder pump for the Beach Park bathhouse downtown here.
Yes, our Building and Grounds Maintenance Department foreman has prepared a communication with some quotations, which is attached to my report, regarding the potential purchase of a sanitary sewer grinder pump station, which, as Mr. Byer indicated, would service the bathhouse at the beach park. The sanitary sewer service line there has been problematic for many, many years. It's believed to be in part due to inadequate fall, the combination of inadequate fall and sand and other debris that gets placed in the line as a result of where it's located and what it's used for. Essentially, it plugs up periodically, and typically at the most inopportune times, when we have high use, when there are festivals, etc., And that causes significant inconvenience for our customers and places a lot of pressure on our maintenance folks to deal with it post-haste. So Bill has obtained 3 proposals. The most cost-effective appears to be the one from Liberty Pumps in the amount of $4,053.77. F&V has experience with this particular manufacturer in another community and reports they've had a good experience. So that is the recommendation. The supplier would be M Supply Company in West Branch.
I'll move we go ahead with purchase.
Support.
Motion by Pinkowski and Weed support. And this device chews up the material to a finer grain and also provides some muscle to push it on through.
Right.
It is thus the name pump.
Right.
So, okay.
So does this go right in the line, or where do they
Just
install?
outside the building, I believe, in the line.
Okay.
I know they've had to dig up the area where the free concerts are in the summer. That's been dug up more than once, and with great consternation by the DPW people. So. Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Binkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. Krasko, yes. Mr. Byer?
Yes. Motion passed. Next item, environmental inventory consultant idea proposals.
I'll provide an overview of this, but we might want to consider waiting to act till after we deal with the resolution because it ties in with the grant. But basically, as I indicated earlier, we've solicited a proposal to have a consultant review and update the environmental inventory that was done for the property back in 2003. I've provided excerpts from the application materials wherein it strengthens your application if you have expert documentation. So essentially we would be hiring this consultant to document the natural features on the property, sand dunes, etc., plant life, those types of things. There are actually, I think, 3 sections in the application that would benefit from that type of analysis. We could resubmit what was done in 2003, but it would appear that that's a significant amount of time and that work is probably stale, if you will. So the proposal in question was proffered by Affiliated Researchers. This is a company we've dealt with in the past to do support work for our grant applications with good result. They're quoting a not-to-exceed cost of $2,500 to do the work. And given the timeline we're working with, they would need to get started right away if the board deems it advisable to have them proceed.
And you think that this would be a plus as far as our grant application, should we decide to go ahead with that?
Correct.
And that would also point out if there were any endangered species of any kind there. And if someone else were to buy this property, they could do whatever they wanted, whether there was endangered species or not there. Am I presuming that? They wouldn't have to, I mean, if somebody bought that land and wanted to clear it and build whatever, they could?
I don't know that I would say they absolutely could, but without being required to do the inventory, they may not even become aware.
Right.
So
Again,
for the-
it's not a requirement, but it's advisable because it provides an independent substantive opinion that the property has features and plant life and such that's worth protecting.
So this would come in handy too if we did get the property, so that if we wanted to go and clear the underbrush out, we're not clearing something that's endangered, thinking it's shrubs or, awful stuff, so. Okay, so this is to our advantage no matter how you look at it.
The only downside, frankly, would be is if we're not successful, we've spent the money, but that's part of the risk.
And what is the money?
$2,500.
$2,500.
Okay, right. Okay. All right, need a motion if you wish to bypass this idea, or a motion if you wish to go ahead with the proposal?
I make a motion to to accept a proposal from affiliated researchers for an environmental inventory.
Support.
All right, motion by Mr. Weed with support from Mrs. McGuire. We do go ahead with affiliated researchers. Further discussion at all? Roll call, please.
Ms. Krasko, yes. Mr. Pinkowski?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes. Motion carried. Final item under the superintendent's report is an overview of some resolutions that are going to come up very soon on our agenda.
Right. We have two resolutions this evening dealing with grant programs. The first, if approved, would accept the Passport grant, which would provide for improvements to our skate park. And in doing so, as I note here, we're committing to a local match of $9,350 towards a total project budget of $37,400. You might recall we had proposed replacing the skate park, what was left of it, with a plan that featured more durable steel ramps with a specified design, and we would try and maintain that design in our RFP process. But we're committing to execute the agreement and move forward with the program if the resolution's adopted.
Okay. Questions? All right.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution.
Okay.
Support.
Resolution, which one? 05 or 06?
Whole five.
05.
Okay. Both, but we better take them separately. Okay, resolution 2015-05. To accept a Michigan Natural Resources Passport Grant. First one we've had of this kind, Passport
Yes.
Grant. For the skate park improvements at Oscoda Beach Park. This is not the property purchase thing at all. This is fixing up the skate park, skateboard park. So, you made the motion to accept them. Do we have support?
Yeah,
Support.
Mr.
Mr.
Hinckley.
Hinckley? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Ms. Krasko, yes. Mr. Pinkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes. Motion carried. Okay, the second resolution is entitled 2015, the year, and this will be the sixth resolution so far this year, so it's 06. And this, as Bob mentioned, is deals with the recreation grant application and that we authorize going ahead with this, just to see, kind of we're going fishing here, to see if we can get a grant, so. Discussion?
When do you
Motion?
find out?
Usually in October or November.
Okay, so it's definitely on next year's
Yes,
budget.
correct.
Okay.
At what point do you have to go down and testify and verbally go face to face and tell them, like you did at Mackinac City some years ago for?
It's like summertime.
Yeah, I'm thinking that they've delayed that process. The legislature didn't appropriate funding right away for the program, and it was the following spring. It would have been, in this case, like the spring of 2016,
Okay,
I believe.
because you and I have talked before, when I went down there in August of 13 to Lansing, just to thank them for giving us a grant for the pier. And at that point, we hadn't actually spent the money yet, I guess. Couldn't have been 13, because the pier was built in the fall of 12, I believe. So, But anyway, I went down to thank them, and they put me like last on the list, and there were a whole list of people that had new projects and were asking for money. And I was a thank you guy at the end, so. But so they're still doing that, so, okay. Okay, we need a vote on this?
Need a motion.
Need a motion.
I'll make a
That'd be
motion
nice.
to approve resolution 2015-06.
Support.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Weed with support from Mr. Gieske, that we do adopt Resolution 2015-06. Roll call when ready.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Pinkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Krasko, yes. Mr. Byer?
Yes. Motion carried. Okay, we move on to other, and we have two items. Had one, now we have two. And we have some write-offs for bad debt.
They all involve the water fund. It's a total amount of $4,265, of which $2,247 relates to a damaged fire hydrant that we could not collect restitution against. The other amounts, the remaining amounts, were not identified as to source, but the auditors have advised that they be written off because we've carried them and have no reasonable basis to conclude they won't have to continue to be carried.
Questions at all regarding these items?
Chris, what do you mean by you can't find no record of this amount?
There's no record of all the records of the invoices that I send out. Nothing adds up to this amount that's unpaid. These could be old. They could be smaller amounts that add up to
Well,
this.
so this isn't just one item, this could be various.
Could be
items.
various items. Could be a refund that was given that, we logged in, but now we've given money back and it's still showing this, so.
Okay.
And the $160, I have no idea what that was. I searched that, Jamie Carruthers and I looked at all the info, and there was nothing again so it could be, again, small amounts that, FOIAs that people didn't pay for, or. But this is not all in 1 year. This goes back a ways that they've just.
So your
accumulated.
definition of old is 10 years, 20 years?
Oh, I don't know. At least not in the last 3-4 years, anyway.
Oh.
But we couldn't find them, so they must be older than that.
Okay.
But that was their recommendation.
Okay. The auditors.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of this stuff, clean slate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why keep carrying it over?
All right. I need a motion then that we do this.
I'll move that we write off the $4,265.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Hinckley with support from Mr. Gieske that we do go ahead with the write-offs that have been presented to us by the clerk's office. Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Gieske?
Yes.
Ms. Krasko, yes. Mr. Pinkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes. Motion carried. We move on to number 2, which Bob added at the beginning of the meeting regarding possible advertisement in the Canoe Marathon publication.
Yes, we were advised today, again, that with limited time to jump on board if we wish to support this promotional effort. I provided a copy of the meeting minutes from last year. I believe historically we have purchased a full-page ad. So it would appear the pricing has gone up somewhat. We'd be looking at $500 instead of $450 if we want to maintain that level of support. But you'll note, and actually I guess it's Thursday that the ad copies due based on the information we've been given. Here is a copy of last year's ad.
And they do have a new, they're not using the same company to make it. They're using a different company, and the magazine said it's going to be bigger. So it'll be a bigger ad. That's probably why the difference in price.
Well, as one of the two key cities involved in one of the biggest canoe races in the United States, I certainly think we should participate.
I'll move, we go ahead with full.
Good
Support.
Okay.
Wait,
Mr. Binkowski motion, Mr. Weed support.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Jim, I'm sorry.
Won't be the first time that's happened. Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hinckley,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Gieske,
Yes.
Mr. Binkowski,
Yes.
Ms. Krasko, yes, Mr. Weed,
Yes.
Mr. Byer.
Yes. Okay, we are at our second public comment. So this one, you don't have to have any kind of card filled out or anything like that. If we have people that wish to share an opinion, ask a question, whatever, now's your time to do that.
We did have one card from Mr. Doggerman.
You pretty well covered that, so,
Okay.
but I do have a question. So I guess I need to go through
Yeah, JD's gonna jump out of there and thump you.
You have to excuse me, I'm hard of hearing and I got a real screwed up ear, so I may be kind of loud. Okay, my initial question on the card was about what I call the 8th Street, Mission Street fishing pond we have. But I understand that was covered a couple weeks ago, and this gentleman pretty well answered my questions on it. Then I heard something, like I say, I'm a little hard of hearing, and I'm not picking up everything you guys are saying. I heard something about paying the bills in 2014 for the frozen water lines, did I not? Okay. What about the frozen water lines in 2015? Now, maybe all of you up there have lived in Oscoda all your life. I've lived where it's cold, not in Oscoda. I've lived in Alaska several years, in a couple, 3 different locations. My neighbor, who is embarrassed to speak, has had a frozen water line, I don't know, week, 10 days now. And this is the first year it's happened.
Is or is not?
It's not.
Okay.
It is, according to what they told them the last time, it was freezing under 8th Street is where the freeze was, which makes sense. I mean, if you dig down and bury your water line, whatever they are, 5 feet, then you cut down a foot or whatever, you make a road, you've got less coverage. Why don't they fix these things so you don't have to defrost them every year? That's all I got to say.
Okay. Thank you. Care to venture an answer? I mean, other than the huge cost that
It
would be.
would, well, part of the problem, a lot of those out on the Air Force Base, they aren't very deep. Didn't we have some near the back gate that were only a couple feet, they figured, beneath the road?
There was a large number of them that were quite
Yeah,
shallow,
so-
which, and actually, we did hire a contractor at one time to lower a large number of them and hadn't had any problems until the last couple of years there. It doesn't make it any better. Now that the problems emerged, certainly understand that, but under normal circumstances, it would appear that the problem had been fixed up until just 2014-15.
Can I ask a question? Shouldn't I have been told that these things occurred when they sold the house to me?
I don't know that that's a question that we would want to venture into providing input on. But in fairness to everybody involved, we haven't had this type of incidents with our water lines in 20-plus years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And to add to that, when the Air Force Base was there,
Yeah.
that water was being run constantly. There was somebody living in there. Now we have people that go away for the winter, so the water is not flowing as freely as it used to because, 3 or 4 of your neighbors are gone, so you're the only one. So it's not constantly being run like it was when the Air Force Base was there. So that's part of the problem as well, is that they you know, we have people that go away, and between your house and their house, it tends to freeze, or, you know, not enough water going through, and it tends to sit there and freeze, and that becomes an issue.
So my only recourse is to wait for someone from the city to come out and thaw it out? Is that?
Well, the only other
I mean,
choice you
you know.
have is to hire somebody on your own, but yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it.
How far
Or-
behind are they, Bob?
They're probably a couple weeks behind at this
Are
point.
they really?
Yeah.
And they're working every day.
They're not working weekends?
They're
Wow.
not because of some of the issues.
Mhm.
Right.
But the thing that's a shame is it's the same ones
All the time.
that have happened for 20 years.
Yeah.
And that's what they're spending their time on.
Right.
Not that they're any less important.
They should
but
be looking at the new
They
ones.
should, the people should know also that, yeah.
Yeah, this is
Run the
our
water.
second time. I know it
Yeah.
happened when we bought our house, probably 8 or whatever it was, 10
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Did you let your water run this year?
Yeah, yeah, because we got an order to let it run, and we let it run, and we got up like at 2 in the morning, and it was still running, then we got up at 3 in the morning, and there was no water. And then when my husband called, I imagine the water department, they just said, well, we've been telling everybody to let it run like the width of a pencil. He's like, yes, we should have told them too. So, but I don't know, I've just never lived anywhere where there's problems with water.
Yeah.
I'm just not getting this. Not getting any water either.
Well, the guys are working on it, but there's, I don't know where you are on the list. You know, that depends on, we can't give you a time period, but anything further on the lady's question or concern?
I can make a comment. I have a apartment complex, and it's a 6-foot deep, like a well pit.
Yeah.
Styrofoam on the walls, 2 inches on the top, plus 3 feet of fiberglass insulation. And I had to put a heater in it. The apartments, I think it was the same time when it was 30 below.
Yeah.
My apartments were running out of water.
Huh.
I put a heater in there, and it took 4 hours to thaw out.
See, and I don't know anything about doing things like that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even know how or where to start.
So I know when it was 30 below that
Freezing
night,
up
it was
under the
frost.
road, you know, you
You
guys
keep
have a
pushing it
problem
down.
on us getting it back home, digging a hole, putting the heater out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
If it's freezing under the road, it is our problem.
Yeah.
We should be dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've never had a winter as bad as what last year and this year have been.
Yeah, but I didn't have any
severe.
trouble
Well,
last
I've
year.
had a lot worse winters than these people ever seen.
Yeah.
And it could be a little worse this year because we've had extremely low temperatures and not the snow insulation
Right, you didn't have the
covered.
snow to insulate,
Yeah.
I understand that.
So. Well, anyone else?
Yeah, I'll say something. Yeah, my name's Ron Spencer. I live at 10034 8th Street. And I kind of want to go back to the corner issue there. I guess I got 3 things. I'd like to know why that water isn't freezing. Where is it coming from? Where is it going? I've lived there about 13 years, and ever since I've lived there, it's been flooded there in the winter. But it always froze over. So you just drive on it and go. Didn't really bother that much, but it's the first year since I've been there that it hasn't froze. And I just went by there again before I came over here, and it's not froze yet.
No. I was over there to check it out today also, late afternoon, and the water's right over Mission, right? It's right over the
Yeah,
road.
yeah. Well, because it's melting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your question about why doesn't it freeze? My understanding is that it is preheated water.
Yeah, it's
It's
hot.
flowing.
Ed and I were out there, I went out
Where's it
there to
going?
check it out, and Ed touched the water and it was warm.
It's
warmer
going to
than
three
yeah.
pipes, isn't
It
it?
is still the
Yeah.
antifreeze from when the Air
Yeah.
Force was
No.
there.
No.
No, it's just that they heat that water.
Well, I mean, they used to use antifreeze on the runway.
There's a
so it's
leak
not
there
really
somewhere.
desperate.
When Jamie and I went out there, there's a manhole that they just rebuilt to bring it up. And you can actually see from the keyhole, where you lift the manhole, the water burbling up through
Yeah,
that.
there's a spout.
Yeah, it's,
I mean, it's
here,
lifted-
it's a,
When we were there, it was like this, it
Little
was
geyser.
cold.
it was a,
Yeah.
Now that it's warmed up, that water that's coming up out of there is over an inch burbling up.
Mhm.
It's not doing that at the corner though.
Yeah, that's at the corner.
That's right at the
there.
corner.
You can't see it moving anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look there, it's bubbling right up through that manhole.
If it
You
keeps
see
coming
it.
up there, how come it's not all over the place out there then? It should be covering about 40 acres by now.
Yeah, but some of it is still
It's
going
going
down the
by.
line.
Yeah.
There's still some going down the line, just
but
it's
there's still
backing
some
up.
coming up.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I heard that there was a root blockage somewhere,
That's
That's
the thought,
accurate.
yeah.
and it's not at that corner, I don't think.
Yeah, there's no trees.
And there's no trees where they said the root blockage was, that I could tell that are big trees that would cause that kind of root development.
well, how long ago was it that we had the professional company go through?
It would have been like in the fall of 2013.
Okay, so 2 or 3 years ago, we had a company come in and clean it out.
Yeah,
And the tree situation, or lack of trees, was the same 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And it worked. You know, didn't work for a long time, but I mean, they were pulling roots out of there. And so your question about, you sound to me like you're doubting whether that's caused by tree roots. And
I am.
it worked with the roto-rooter
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
they
They
pulled
used two
roots
different
out.
sizes, they pulled roots out and it started to flow.
I mean, I've seen a lot of root blockages and it may get in there and twist around and be a big mass and everything, but there's at least some drainage going through
Yeah.
somewhere.
And it's the real fine roots
Yeah,
from smaller plants that can create a massive blockage.
well,
And there's a lot of system to cover. You got all that goes all the way down to 3 pipes with all those trees through the
they
forest.
told me when I moved here that you could drink that water at 3 pipes. Now, would you like to go down there and try some right now? I don't think so.
No.
I don't know what's causing that not to freeze, and I don't know where the hot water is coming from. I guess that's what I don't understand.
The stripper plant,
Yeah.
the stripper place
With
that takes all, that's treating the water.
Yeah.
That's how the government treats the water with heat.
Is that right on the Mission?
Just north.
Just, yeah.
Across from
On
the
the west
soccer
side
From
of
the
the road?
soccer
Yeah.
fields.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
Starts colliding.
yeah.
All
That's all I
right,
have.
thank you. Anyone else? Last chance, okay. Any board comment?
Again, just a reminder, there's an election May 5th. If you'd like an absentee ballot, just get a hold of our office and we'll send you the application, and when the ballots come in, we'll mail them right to you, so,
Can
yeah.
you bring Diana back for that, please?
I'd like to, but she doesn't want to come back. She's moving.
Yeah, she's gone.
Yeah,
I
so
know.
it's up to you. We're gonna put you in charge.
You-
Nobody does, that's the
You
problem.
also mentioned to me about reminding the public.
Oh, the entire board packet that we look at up here, everything, all the backup materials, everything, is online for the public to go in and look. Just go to the Oscoda Township site, oscodatownshipmi.gov, go to agendas and minutes, click on the board packets, and you'll see everything that we see here, all 200 pages of it, so,
Black and white.
And that should be there by Friday?
yep, be there Friday
Friday
before the
before
meeting,
meeting.
so it's open, if you go in, it's public, can
Got
look
all
at it.
weekend to look at it.
Yep, so,
I do.
Okay. Go ahead.
Last day to pay taxes was March 2nd. If you have not paid your summer or winter taxes for 2014, they are now delinquent and they need to be paid at the county treasurer's office. That phone number that you can call is 989-362-4409 to get an updated figure of what you owe. Personal property taxes are still due at the Oscoda Township Hall.
Okay. Thank you, ladies. Anything else from the board? All right, then the next thing is we have a closed session to consider privileged attorney-client communications. Need a motion to go into closed session?
Support.
Okay, motion, I believe.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
Jamie, support.
Let me talk to you.
Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
Mr. Weed?
Yes.
Ms. Carrasco, yes. Mr. Gieske?
Yeah.
Mr. Pinkowski?
Yes.
Mr. Byer?
Yes,
You want this one?
we are in closed session.